Welcome. Would you please state your name, when you joined the chorus, and how long you were in the chorus?
My name is Jose Fernandez. I joined the chorus in February of 1982 and stayed for 16 years until 1998.
Could you tell us a little bit about why you joined the chorus?
I had always been a singer. I did it in high school, I did it in college, I did it for about 2 years after college, but I had never sung with a gay organization. And a friend of mine from college actually invited me to the chorus's Valentine's Day concert from 1982. If I recall, it was on a Sunday. We went to Avery Fisher Hall and I saw them and I was blown away. I remember sitting in the audience and saying, I have got to join this group. So when the concert ended and we went outside, I went up to one of the members and I said, the first person I saw wearing a tuxedo. It turned out to be Steve Bradley, who would go on, as you know, to be one of my dearest friends in the chorus. So I went up to him and I asked him, how do I join this group? And he said, oh, we're having auditions tomorrow at Gary Miller's the apartment, the director. So he gave me a phone number and I went back to work the next day. I called the number. That Monday, I showed up at Gary's apartment and I auditioned, and the rest is history.
Could you tell us a little bit about your first experience with the chorus, either a concert or rehearsal or anything like that?
My first rehearsal was, I believe it was either later in February or early March at County Hall, where we were rehearsing in those days. And I was terrified. I showed up like an hour earlier than I had to, and I just walked around 57th Street because I was like really nervous. And I remember walking into the room. In those days, we had about 60 plus members. And I had never really been around so many gay men other than in a club per se. And everywhere you look, there were all these good looking guys and all greeting each other and talking to each other. And I just took a seat in the bass section and sat down, like not moving. And all of a sudden, Steve Bradley came in, as luck would have it, and sat next to me. And when he realized that I was the same guy that had talked to him basically the day before almost, he was like, oh, you made it. And we became fast friends after that. We basically sang together whenever we could. And thank you, Gary Miller, for that, because he kept always putting us together. But what I quickly realized was that the chorus was a family. These guys all knew each other. They were all joking and hanging out with each other, being very affectionate. I had never been in an environment like that in my life. And it was both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time, because I remember thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Can I fit in here? Will I make it?
Could you talk about a favorite moment or two you've had in the chorus?
Absolutely, there have been many. The very first concert that we sang after I joined was the GMHC's Showers Benefit at Paradise Garage. And I remember we rehearsed for a couple of months for that. It was actually on Holy Thursday of 1982. And they had told us that we would go on around 11 o'clock, and that's what they put on the poster. By the time we showed up, as anyone who has been to a club in New York knows, nobody goes out dancing at 11 o'clock. So basically they pushed the performance and we were just hanging out backstage. We went on after midnight and the rise space was like very, very tiny. So literally, to put it bluntly, we were almost dry humping each other on stage because we were so packed so tightly, and it was like 300 degrees, but we sang, it went over great. And I remember just feeling for the first time, yes, I can do this. I belong here. These guys are my brothers. It was really a great feeling. That was one. Um, the other one was the Best of the Best concert at the Met that we did. I believe it was 1984, I want to say, and dates get fuzzy at this age. Um, it was not only one of the first big benefits for AIDS in the city, just being on the stage of the Met after being in the audience for so many years was something that I to this day I still kind of like. It's kind of dear to me. But meeting people like Bette Midler, Sheeta Rivera, Carol Burnett, Ashford and Simpson, Marilyn Horne, all those people were backstage with us. And you know me, I'm never shy. So I was going up to all of them and introducing myself. But probably one of the highlights of the night was the after party, right down at the promenade or whatever it's called. And we all had different tables. My table was Yoko Ono, Sally Struthers, and Colleen Dewhurst, among some. And I remember everybody drinking a lot. And at one point, we sang the theme to All in the Family, and Sally Struthers climbed up on the table while we were singing. It was actually a pretty memorable night. And those are just, a few. There are many more. I made some notes so I would remember what I wanted to say. Other than that, another big one was the second European tour, our concert in Cologne. Kevin Flanagan and I were two of the last people to leave the dressing room. I don't know why. We were like primping or something, and there was a wonderful party afterwards. So everybody had gone down, and Kevin and I had the great idea all of a sudden that we would just go down to the party in cut-off jeans and no shirt. And we did that, and there was this huge like staircase that went down to like the space where everybody was dancing and stuff. And I remember the two of us going down, and all of a sudden we were mobbed by all these German guys that wanted to talk to us. And I have never felt so wanted in my life. It was like a surreal experience. So that kind of sticks with you.
Do you have a favorite song that you've sung in the chorus, and why?
I have many, like everybody else that has done this before, but yeah, two that stand in my mind. It's Conrad Sousa's The Chanticleer's Carol. I remember being blown away the first time that Gary pulled it out in rehearsal. It was, and to this day, I just loved the song, and it was my friend Steve's favorite as well. The two of us loved it. Also, Dean Johnson's arrangement of Lo How It Rose that we first did with the chamber choir, as you know, and then the large chorus performed it. Other than that, also Randall Thompson's Testament of Freedom that we performed at St. John the Divine with herald trumpets one night, I remember. And that was incredible to me because, again, the words of the song really speak to equality and freedom, something that's kind of in short supply these days, and it was back then.
Of the many concerts that you've done, do you have a favorite or two?
I have many, many favorites. Absolutely, I can tell you about that. The ACDA concert, and I won't expand on that too much because I know Edgar covered it. That was great. Again, the best of the best, as I mentioned before. September of '82, the Kennedy Center performance. I really have to say that a lot of the places that I went to with the chorus, I had never been to in my life and have not been to since. Probably my absolute best memory of concerts is the Coast Come Out and Sing Together that we did. It was the precursor to all the gala concerts and choruses. We worked so hard on that, and I was on the board at the time. So there was a lot of work that went into it by everybody. I remember meeting weekly to talk about this, and we pulled it off. And it was when we finally took the stage, it was really something that everybody would always remember because it was the fruition of everything that we had done for literally months. So that's probably my absolute favorite of all of them.
You've talked about several memorable things. Is there any one or two things that have really stood out for you in your memory?
I mean, as I said, the European tour was pretty epic. I mean, I missed the first one, and when the second one came around, I said, I absolutely have to do that. We really felt like rock stars, as you know, just traveling to Europe and having all these audiences come out and see us. But of all the experiences that I've had with the chorus, what keeps coming up is the music. I mean, it's always been about the singing for me. And I really have to say, singing under Gary's leadership was something that I had never experienced before. And as I said, I've sung with many, many choruses. I mean, his dedication and his drive to always have us be our best, even though sometimes we kind of hated him for it. and he knew that we were like, oh my God, do we have to do that again? But he knew what we could do. He knew what our potential was, and he would not accept anything less. And it was really, really great to see his artistry and how he just led us through all those years. For me, it was never the same after he left, which is part of the reason why I left. I figured, okay, I've done this for 16 years. It's time to go and do something else. Other than that, singing in both small groups, being part of the chamber choir was something that I will always treasure. Uh, Being part of Uptown Express, singing with you alongside with you, as a matter of fact, that's also quite a memory because as you know, not everybody got the chance to do these things. You had to be kind of like almost handpicked to be in these groups, and I've always felt very fortunate that I was able to do that. And of course, the friendships. I think after the music, the most important thing is that we know whenever we sang, we were a family. I always realized that we really were, and to this day, the chorus is still a family. There are so many people, some that are gone, some that are still here with us. And I could, just to mention some: Neil Bickford, Paige Jackson, Steve Bradley, to name a few, and people that are still with us: Dean Taylor, one of my dearest friends to date, Victor Rossetti. These are people that touch my life in ways that I cannot even put into words. I mean, they became my family. They became more than just friends, and I hung out with them all the time. This was what I did. I went to work, and when I came home from work, there was always something chorus related. Either somebody was having a party, or I would just go to Paige and Victor's and sit around and eat and watch TV and drink and talk and hang out. So this was, the extent of my social life for many, many years. Um, Probably the biggest thing, and I know he will kill me if I don't mention it, was meeting Stephen, my husband, 29 years and counting. And I probably would not have met him if it hadn't been for the chorus. We met at rehearsal one day, and here we are, still legal now for over 7 years. But yeah, definitely that the music, the friends, and meeting him has basically made all the difference for me.
Finally, the chorus has led the way on many important moments over the years. How do you see the chorus leading the way to change going forward?
I think that I mean, I for one, I mean, I've attended concerts since I left. Of course, I mean, I follow everything that's put on Facebook, and I still talk to some people that are then a part of the group. We've always had an important role in the community because back in the early '80s when I joined, and of course, right before AIDS was a full blown uh, epidemic, we were a symbol of hope for people, but at the same time there was activism because our music carried messages to the community. It also dispelled a lot of myths and stereotypes about what our community is and what we are as gay people. So we kind of opened a lot of eyes and changed a lot of people's perception. I think that to this day the chorus has continued to do that. One of the things that I didn't mention, and and I don't want to be remiss, my proud moments and my favorite moments was being the first elected queen. Because with all due respect to Ron Shore, he was self-appointed. I was the first elected one, and something that started out as a joke, like an in-house joke, basically. I am really proud of the fact that these kids now have taken it to a different level. It's now something that carries a platform, and they actually are doing things for the community, which is great. So this kind of thing, I see that continuing. I see the role of the chorus getting bigger and bigger, and it's very gratifying because we were there way back when, and it's great to be able to pass the torch on to somebody else.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, really. I mean, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's a great trip down memory lane. I realized that I wrote notes and I just didn't even look at them, but it made me sit down and go back, 20 something years, and try to figure out what where I am now and where I was back then. I probably would be a very different person today if it hadn't been for the chorus. Again, for the friendships that I made, what it meant to me as a gay man. I had only, come out my sophomore year in college. So by the time I joined the chorus, I was out of college for like almost 2.5 years. It really shaped a lot of, the person that I am today. It really, really impacted my life in a most positive way. And for that, I'll always be grateful, and grateful to you that you're doing this for generations to come, to see, that the old timers, what it was like for us way back then. My take was like, yeah, I would love to have that one and that one and that one, but they probably don't want me. Because I mean, I was like this green kid, and these guys were like gods to me. Everybody was gorgeous, and everybody was so friendly. And, people I realized too, I didn't mention Joe, like Joe Oliva, who like took me under his wing like immediately. And I mean, what can you say about that? I mean, here I was, a total stranger, and Joe was having a party that weekend and handing out flyers to people. And he looked at me and he was like, "Here." And he gave me this flyer and he said, "I don't know who you are, but you should come. We're going to have a great time." And I said that at his memorial service. And his cousin came up to me and she said, "Oh my God, I never heard that story." I said, "He didn't know me. And I had never been to Brooklyn in my life. He gave me directions and I drove to Brooklyn on a Saturday night, and I didn't even know where I was. And when I got there, it was this party that turned into a slumber party. People didn't want to go home, and everybody like started sleeping on the floor. Everybody was like drunk and stoned, and I was like, "This is hilarious." The next day, I got up and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is." And that was like the beginning of my friendship with Joe. I mean, after that, it was all downhill from there. It was like forget it. We were like almost inseparable at one point. But it's great. And again, I see what, every time I look on Facebook and I see like, the Royals and what they're doing and stuff, I can't help but to laugh, because it's like, oh my God, this was born. Michael Coleman and I were talking about it, basically on Facebook recently. I said, this was born in Ron Shore's apartment one afternoon after work as a joke. And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But you know what? Why not? Why not? And it was always, I mean, after I got it, as you know, when Ron did it, everybody was like, "Oh, it's fun," and I was shocked when I was elected. I was like, "Oh," and after that, it became a thing. Everybody was like, everybody wanted. I think of Greg Coury, that never got to be queen, and he was dying to be queen. And then when I was trying to write this, I was trying to go through stories, and I said, no, I can't say that story because Victor will kill me. I remember when Paige accidentally broke the zipper on Victor's dress, because it was unzipping, and he was like yelling at all of us, and we basically had to like sew him in and pin him into it, like that Morgan did. But I mean, things like that. I said, no, if I said that, Victor will send a death squad to my apartment. I cannot. But those are moments that you'll never forget. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and it was crazy, and I'm just glad to see that it's continued.
Thanks, Jose, for participating.
Glad to do it.